Women's lacrosse had a big flop over the weekend. Is this the end for them already? And baseball season is in full swing after the weekend, but the team lost the top spot in the MAC. Find out our takeaways, all the Quinnipiac sports analysis you want for the next 30 minutes. This is Bobcat Breakdown. Thanks for joining us tonight for Bobcat Breakdown. I'm your host, Jon Surratt, with some big sports guys on desk. Bryan, Schwartz, and Kevin Higgins here to talk. Guys, what's popping?
Everything's popping, John. We're excited to be here. Me and Kevin, I love this.
Yeah, the weather's popping too. Finally getting into the 60s.
Beautiful out.
Really nice weather today. But now, guys, let's start with some women's lacrosse. A very big loss for the team in a crushing way. The team blew a 9-goal lead to the Niagara Purple Eagles on senior day, nonetheless. Now, is this the biggest collapse of any team so far this year? Or are there any others that top it?
Well, I'll start with this one, Bryan. In terms of an individual game, yes. I mean, they're up 11-2. That's insane to me that you can lose that game. There are lacrosse games in which the winning team doesn't even score 11 goals. I don't know how you can say this isn't the biggest collapse when you're up 9 goals. And even then, there were too many collapses as well. They were up, obviously, 11-2. And then they allowed 6 straight to make it 11-8. And then they were up 14-11, so they rebounded, and then had another collapse allowing the last 4 goals of the game. This is the biggest collapse for sure in terms of an individual game.
See, I'm thinking of it in the terms of the magnitude of the game. And this is a regular season game, and I'm looking at the Quinnipiac men's ice hockey team in the quarterfinal round of the ECAC tournament. This is a team that had national championship expectations. And you're going into your conference tournament where you're the top seed, and you're playing one of the worst seeds in the league in Brown, and you blow third period leads in both games. And that's just unacceptable to me. That is a collapse in itself. And you're going to tell me that a women's lacrosse game with a mid-tier MAC team, when they blow a lead, yeah, it was a big lead, but it has no comparison to a top men's hockey program's loss against a bottom-feeding team in the conference.
Well, let's think. Was there anything missing from men's hockey that I'm trying to think? Their best player and Hobie Baker Award nominee, Chase Priskie.
It's still collapsed.
Their best player and their captain and their leader and one of the best players in the entire country wasn't there. 2-goal third period leads and 1-goal third period leads. They get blown all the time. Just look at your nightly NHL score.
But it's their first time playing. Well, not the first time. It's their second round of the ECAC tournament. These are games that they expected to win, they had to win, and you think that they were at least going to go to the title game, right? Anything short of the ECAC title game for Quinnipiac in that tournament this year as a top 7 program, the boys are always buzzing, right?
The boys are always buzzing, I'll give you that.
This is a team that needed to win those 2 games, and they blew leads in both games.
But by no means did they need to win those 2 games. I'm going to call you out on that right now. Brown needed to win those 2 games. They lost those 2 games, and they still got a top 2 seed in the NCAA tournament. But I guess we'll have to agree-disagree on this one.
Different takes from both guys. But now after the detrimental loss, is this team done, guys? Because the last 3 games of the season for the Bobcats are against top teams in Siena, Manhattan, and Monmouth. So what are their chances in this playoff run, currently standing at 6th in the MAC?
It's not over. I wouldn't be surprised if, let's say, they lost out and Niagara were to pass them, but I don't think it's over. The odds that they lose all 3 of those games are very low. They're going to take one of those games at least, and they should be around that 6th seed. They're 2-3 right now. Niagara's 1-3, so they're right above Niagara, and they're probably going to make it in. They'll probably sneak in around that 5 or 6 seed.
Mm-hmm. I would have to agree with you. Obviously, it hurts that those last 3 matchups are against the 2nd through 4th best teams in the MAC.
Right.
But this team has shown kind of depleted level of their opponents this year. They lost 9-8 to Fairfield earlier this year, who was the only undefeated team in this conference, and they went toe-to-toe with them all game. And Niagara, who sits 7th right now below Quinnipiac, they're going to lose at least once, in my opinion, to Manhattan, and they'll probably lose 2 of their last 3. And I think Canisius will lose to Fairfield again, because they're dominant, and QU has the tiebreaker over them with a head-to-head win. So, barring something crazy, they should be able to sneak in at least the top 6.
The one thing I'll also say is after such a terrible collapse in their last game, that's deflating. Not only for the players, but for the coaches, and to be able to come back from that against 3 very good teams in the conference is going to be difficult. Will they be able to do it? I don't know. Will they be able to take one of the three? Probably, but they're going to have to kind of get a new identity, maybe, or they're going to have to get their emotions back in track.
Am I debating Rand Pecknold today? They need a new identity?
Look, maybe not a new identity, but they're going to have to get their emotions back in track and get ready to go and be ready for what's remaining in the conference play.
I do agree. I feel like they'll squeak into the 6th seed. But now from the crease to the diamond, baseball lost 3 out of 4 over the week, but saved the best for last in a thrilling game against Canisius. But now lost sole possession of first in the MAC. Now it's early, lots of games to play. But Kevin, what is the biggest storyline for this team so far?
Well, to me, I think the biggest storyline is just that this team is not ready to win the MAC yet. Listen, they finished a half game out of first last year behind Monmouth, so there's obviously a lot of buzz heading into this season. And they
Love
were
that word, buzz.
It's the buzzword, buzz. So for me, there is a lot going into it, and they were the only undefeated team in the MAC heading into this weekend, but they got thoroughly outplayed by Canisius all weekend at home. And Canisius won the conference tournament last year, and they've carried it over into this season. They should have been swept. That should have been a 3-game sweep. It took a miraculous win and a bullpen collapse to prevent it from happening. They're not ready.
I'm not going to disagree with you that they're not ready, but what I will say is that I like the resiliency that they showed on Sunday, and that's something that can't really go unnoticed with a team like this because, look, they made it very far in the MAC tournament last year, and now this year, obviously, they're trying to repeat that. They didn't lose that many key pieces from last year, but you have two guys, Liam Scaffarello and Bryan Moskey, two big pieces of the team that have not played to what they're capable of playing this year. And what I take away from Sunday's game was that they were resilient. They were down 3-2, they come back 5-3. Down 9-6, and they come back and win it. So they are still playing well. They have the hitters. We're going to talk about it in a little bit, but guys like Anthony Cruz are stepping up. Kevin Husher is stepping up. So there are players that are ready to go, and this team is going to be fine. I think they will be totally fine. They have a bunch of young players, and look, Liam Scaffarello is not going to hit 172 the entire season. Let's be real.
I agree with you in the sense that they'll be fine in terms of the final MAC standings, but in terms of just winning the conference, resiliency can only get you so far.
Yeah.
Eventually, you just have to be better than some teams, and the Canisius Golden Griffs were better than the Quinnipiac Bobcats this weekend. 9-2, 3-1. Again, it was a heck of a comeback, obviously, but Canisius is far and away the better team.
But even coming back, showing the resiliency, that can help you down the stretch.
True.
When you're down by 3 in the 9th inning against another good team, well, we beat Canisius. Down 9-6. So why can't we come back against this team? It gives you the confidence in future games.
Very different takes from the guys. This team still lost its top spot in the MAC. So for this season, I want you guys to pick your poison for this team. Fielding or pitching, what has been the biggest struggle?
John, I don't really know because I think they're about even with fielding and pitching, but fielding they're 4th in the MAC, so I think that's fine. Obviously, you want to be in the top half of fielding, and their fielding percentage isn't that bad. But pitching, 5.20 ERA, that's just not going to cut it. That's not good enough to win a MAC title. You have to, an average ERA in college was probably about a 4, 5, and a 5.20 is not that. That's much, much higher, and it's not at the top of the conference. That's not going to win you ball games.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with the pitching here. Andrew Workman has been awesome, and Bubba Correa has also been good. Tyler Poulin seems to have finally found his command, but everyone else, they've performed mediocre to below average. Besides those three, Workman, Correa, and Poulin, the staff ERA is 7.73. That is not a below average number. That is not a mediocre number. That is not what I would even consider to be a bad number. That is straight up awful. A 7.7 ERA outside of those three guys. Pitching is definitely the reason that this team hasn't really had, I don't think, the best of starts.
Yeah, I mean, they're hitting the best, but they're hitting enough to win ball games, and they're just not pitching well enough to finish at the top of the conference.
Now, aside from pitching and fielding, this team has been switching up the lineup through the start of the season. But I want you guys to make your own lineup that would bring the best results for this team. Kevin, you go first.
Well, I think an ideal lineup right now, we just mentioned him pretty briefly, but I have Kevin Husher batting first. He's been on fire. He's 4th on the team in hits, has a 354 OBP. I think that's a great leadoff guy. Ian Osberg is second. Second on the team in hits is Osberg. Evan Volgamore third, batting .310, second most RBIs on the team. Clean up Andre Marrero. He's been the Triple Crown winner for this team so far, leading in average, home runs, RBIs, also in hits. He's been a savage all year long. And then fifth, I would have Anthony Cruz, 386 OBP, third on the team in slugging. Colton Bender, I would have sixth at DH so that Cruz could play catcher. I'd put him, maybe if worse came to worse, I would put him in left field like they did over the weekend. He has a 304 average. He's only struck out 11 times. He's a great eye at the plate. Seventh, this is where it kind of got a little tricky for me, Liam Scaffarello. There's so much potential there. And when he's at his best, he's in the third or fourth slot every single game. But he is down here until he can hover. He can show me that he can hit 240, okay? As we mentioned, he's batting 170 with 53 strikeouts and about 90 plate appearances. That's not going to cut it. Eighth, I have Brian Mosky, who's also been struggling a little bit. And then ninth, I have basically a second leadoff guy in Kyle Maves, OBP around 330, which I think would be great for a ninth guy, and he's also a speed demon on the base paths, 10 for 10 stolen bases.
I like that, and that's where I put Kyle Maves at number one in the lineup, and I have Kyle Maves leading off because of those stolen bases. When you have a guy that can get on base like that, that is key, and that's why I have him hitting first. I have Kevin Hutcher second. This guy's on a 5-game hit streak, 381 over his last 5 games. You can't get much better than that. The best hitter on the team is Andre Marrero, obviously. He's going to hit third. Evan Volgamore, the second best hitter on the team. He'll hit fourth. He's hit fourth pretty consistently this entire season. Then Colton Bender, Ian Osberg, Brian Mosky, and Liam Scaffarello. Those were the 2 key guys for me at 7 and 8. I wish I could put Scaffarello in that 4th slot, but right now you can't. He hasn't played well enough. He still has 5 home runs. He still can impact a ball game with one swing of the bat, and we know that he is going to the rest of the season.
So does that mean you have Anthony Cruz batting 9th?
Yes. Lineup? I have Anthony Cruz batting 9th, and look, you talked about Kyle Maves hitting 9th. Kyle Maves isn't the 9th best hitter in your lineup, right?
No, but he's not one of the best. Cruz is one of the best.
Anthony Cruz has had a good season, but he hasn't played every single game. Look, he's played about a little bit more than half the games. The last 2 seasons, he has not hit at all. So I'm putting him 9th, and look, you can move him up. This is one game where we would play like next weekend. The other interesting thing I had quickly, I had Cruz in right field, which our producer Tom Krasnowski did not really like, but Cruz played outfield in the last game on Sunday against Canisius. He's an athlete. He could play. Worst case, you have Scaffarello play right field, but Scaffarello's not the best outfielder. So I had Cruz in right field. I want to see what he could do and show off that athleticism.
Great analysis on both your guys' lineups, but we do have to go to break. But when we come back, we'll be talking about men's lacrosse and if their upcoming game is a must-win. Plus, Foster Cuomo's impact. As well, softball lost 4 games over the weekend. Is it time to panic? Don't leave your screen. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the WQAQ Morning Show. Dan Ball and Emma Spagnolo joining you here from the QAQ studios in Hamden. And Emma, it is that time of year again.
I knew you guys wouldn't miss us. Welcome back. Time to talk about men's lacrosse. Now, the team lost its game against Canisius over the weekend, ending a 6-game winning streak and suffering its first MAC loss. Now, with this upcoming game against Marist at home, is this a must-win for them to stay strong in the MAC standings?
I'm going to go ahead and say no. It is not a must-win. They're fine. I will say that a win all but locks them into the playoffs as a top 4 team, but they're going to beat Monmouth and Manhattan later in the season, which would put them at 5 wins and in the playoffs. So
right,
they're fine.
Yeah, I don't think this is a must-win game at all. Those Monmouth and Manhattan games are both very winnable games, and look, beating a team like Marist would be great for this team. It would show that they can beat a top team in the conference in the regular season and give them confidence for when they might end up having to face Marist again in the postseason. But if they lose this game, it's not that big of a deal. They'll probably beat Monmouth and Manhattan, so it's not that big a deal.
And they've already beaten the top team in the conference in Detroit Mercy. Right. They already played them and beat them this year, so Marist would be a nice win, yeah, but it doesn't really mean that much if they lose, I don't think.
Great points, I guess, especially about the Detroit Mercy game. But also in that loss against Canisius, the preseason MAC Player of the Year, Foster Cuomo, was held scoreless for the first time this season. Now, does this team need Foster Cuomo's production to stay afloat in the MAC standings?
I'm going to say yes, but also it doesn't really matter because Foster Cuomo is not going to go scoreless another game the rest of the season. Let's be real. This guy is too good. He is going to score. Look, last year he had 2 games without any goals. That's not going to it's not going to happen again. They were 1-1 in those 2 games last year. So yeah, they can win without him scoring, but that's not going to happen again. They're going to be fine. He's going to be fine. He's going to score. The Quinnipiac team is fine. The schedule the rest of the year is pretty light other than the Marist game, so they're fine.
Yes, but for Cuomo, I don't think they're going to win games if he doesn't produce. To me, he's kind of like the Cam Young of the lacrosse team in a little bit of a way. He scored, as we mentioned, a point in every game he had ever played in until this Canisius game, and they've still obviously lost many games over that span.
But he hasn't scored 55 points yet.
True. Jake Tomsic is obviously a great player in his own right, but he can't carry the whole team by himself. And Cuomo needs about 3 points a night for this team to win regularly, and if he doesn't get that, they're going to lose. So absolutely, they cannot win if he doesn't produce.
It's not like, he didn't have any goals, but he still had assists in that game too. So he is still contributing. He's just not putting balls in the back of the net.
Great points. They did start the year 2-3 without Foster Cuomo, but back to the diamond for some softball talk. The team lost its top spot in the MAC standings with their 4 losses over the weekend. Now let's bring out the panic meters. First up to the plate, hitting. Kevin, you're up.
Well, I'm going to go with concerned for hitting. The hitting has been surprisingly poor, in my opinion, this season, especially from star Aaron Larson. Larson batted .345 with an OPS of over 1,000 last year, en route to first-team All-MAC honors. This year, just .250 with .347 slugging. In fact, as a whole, there are just 3 players on the entire team batting .250 or higher, and 7 batting under .200, and that's unacceptable. I think it's one of those cases where everybody is slumping right now, especially Larson, but I do think it'll level out, which is why I'm at concerned.
I am going rattled, and it's almost at red alert for me. It's very close because you got 2 players in Kayla Jensen and Rachel Marchuk. They're both hitting over .325. Then there's no one else hitting over .250. .250, that's 1 for every 4. That is average in softball and baseball. You have to hit at least .250, and Quinnipiac has 2 players hitting over that. That's unacceptable. And you talked about Aaron Larson. I want to talk about Rebecca Drake. This is someone who hit .407 2 years ago. Yeah, she hit .227 last year, .231 this year, not up to par, but .407, where is that? Where is Rebecca Drake? Why can't she hit? What is the problem there? So you have players that have done it in the past, in her and Aaron Larson specifically, but you need more than just Jensen and Marchuk to be competitive in this conference. I am rattled at this.
That's fair. I mean, again, .250 in softball especially, that's kind of where you want your guys hitting a little above that.
Your average player should be hitting .250.
Yes.
And you need more than that.
And so, yeah, I can't say I blame you with the rattled. I do think it'll level out eventually.
Now from hitting to pitching, Bryan, how much are you panicking for their pitching?
I'm concerned, John. I'm not panicking yet. I'm not at red alert or any of that. And that's because of Lauren King. And this freshman pitcher has been pretty solid for this team, taking the place of Casey Herzog from last year, who was the ace of this staff, and obviously is a big piece that they do miss. And obviously, you'd like to have her back because Kendo Brunrit is not an ace. Let's be real. She has a 6 ERA. And Lauren King has a 3.81 ERA. She's 6-4 on the year. She should get a couple more starts. And it seems like Brunnert's getting the majority of the starts right now. How about put King into that role? Yes, she's a freshman down the stretch of the season, but she's pitched much better than Brundert, so why not? So I'm a little bit concerned about the pitching, but not completely, because you have one pitcher that's pitching pretty well.
Yeah, so for me, I'm going to go cautious. It's just, I think, much like the hitting, the pitching has hit a rut right now, but I think it'll be back. I'm not sold on Kendall. I think Kendall Brundert could be an ace. She's hit a cold streak on the mound, obviously, with a 6.6 ERA, but I think she will bounce back in a big way. She's a workhorse. She's thrown over 100 innings. Her main problem is that she's been very susceptible to the long ball. She's allowed 9 home runs this year, but those stretches come and go for any pitcher. Jacob deGrom allowed 5 runs to the Twins tonight. It happens. It happens.
5 runs?
To the Twins. It happens to everyone from time to time.
7?
I really think that she will bounce back. And to your point about Lauren King, she's been outstanding. She has a top 10 ERA in the entire conference as a freshman, 3.81. Opponents are batting 240 against her. But right now, the reason I'm cautious is because of the amount of walks they've given up. They have the most walks allowed in the MAC with 131 in just 212 innings. If they can correct that, I think they'll be okay.
Great analysis, guys, but we do have to take another breather. But when we come back, we'll take one more look at the men's ice hockey team, but more specifically, the most recent cast of free agents from college to the pros. And of course, final roars. Stick around. Hey, welcome back to Bobcat Breakdown. We missed you. Now guys, winter sports have ended, but some of the players for the men's ice hockey team left for the pros after the past week. Craig Martin to the Springfield Thunderbirds of the AHL, Andrew Shortridge to the San Jose Sharks, Brandon Fortunato to the Nashville Predators, and Brogan Rafferty to the Vancouver Canucks. Now out of those 4 signings, which player has put themselves in the best spot to succeed?
I'm going to go with Andrew Shortridge, and this guy was one of the best goaltenders in all of college hockey this season, and now he's going to a situation of a team that is basically just missing a really good goaltender. And the San Jose Sharks are a really good team in the NHL, and Martin Jones has not been very good. And so maybe next year, when Shortridge will most likely re-sign with the team and get back on the squad, maybe he slides in there as the backup goalie and will get some extended playing time, and we'll see. He's got a good team around him, so I think Shortridge is in a good situation. Not to say that the others aren't, because look, any junior in college hockey that's not playing in the NHL, that's a great situation, right? You just want playing time, and that's all that matters. But I think Shortridge has a good spot where he's at right now.
I think that's a great point, especially with the Sharks' goaltending woes this season. So I'm going to go a little different. I'm going to say Brogan Rafferty of the aforementioned Vancouver Canucks. He was a plug-and-play immediately after he signed. He signed, he was on the ice. That's already a great sign.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. One day you're in the Frozen Four tournament, and then you're in the NHL within a week.
And now he's playing intramural softball.
Yes. So Vancouver's defense, to me especially, is the main reason for this, because they might lose some key members come next season. So I'm going to rattle them off here. Ben Hutton is a defenseman. He'll be a restricted free agent this offseason. His 2 points or 20 points in 69 games don't make Vancouver poised to get into a bidding war for his services. Chris Tanev, another defensive, might be traded this summer because he's entering the last year of his deal. He'll be on the wrong side of 30, and I don't think he would want to sign long-term with a rebuilding team like the Canucks. Luke Shen, 2 points, minus 10 in only 18 games. That ain't pretty. I don't think he's going to get a new contract either. Alex Biega, another defenseman on the wrong side of 30, who could be trade bait as, just like Tanev, his contract expires after next year. My point is this. Put 2 and 2 together here. The Canucks want to start a youth movement for the core of their rebuild. There are multiple other defensemen on their team whose contracts will expire. Brogan Rafferty is a piece of the puzzle.
You don't think they'd rather have him grow more in the AHL first?
Let him learn in the NHL.
If you're a bad
No
team,
better,
why not,
no better
right?
place to learn.
Now on the topic of signings, senior captain and Hobie Baker finalist Chase Priskie did not sign with the team that drafted him, the Washington Capitals, and is currently a free agent. So where do you think would be his best fit? Brian, you're first.
I know what Kevin's going to say. He's going to hate my answer. Well, you should love my answer.
should.
Because you don't even want this guy on your team. He's a big New York Islanders fan. So obviously, you would want Chase Priskie to be an Islander, right? You want to root for him, correct? Right. So, yes, it may not be the best real fit for Priskie to play right away, but Barry Trotz, the Islanders' current head coach, was the coach of the Capitals when they drafted him. So obviously, they have some connection there. Chase Priskie, why wouldn't you want to stay in the Connecticut area? He's probably going to have to play in the AHL first. Bridgeport Sound Tigers, about 30 minutes away from here. You can stay home, stay right here. Why not? The Islanders are a young and up-and-coming team, giving a lot of younger players playing time, and a lot of their defensemen are going to be up under contract over the next 2 to 3 years. Yes, it's 2 to 3 years. It's a little bit long, but if he sticks it out in the AHL for a year or two, then maybe he gets his shot to kind of slide in there for the second half of a year and a year or two down the road, and then maybe he gets into that 5th or 6th defenseman slot.
Listen, you don't think I would love if Chase Priskie signed with the New York Islanders and him and Devon Toews finished 1-2 in Norris Trophy voting? Of course I would love that.
That'd be great.
This is not Fantasyland, okay? Johnny Boychuk, Nick Leddy, Thomas Hickey all signed through the 2021 season. Ryan Pulock will be an RFA next year.
That's why I said 2022.
Well, here's the deal. Ryan Pulock's a stud, so he's going to get a huge contract extension. Adam Pelech next 2 years, Scott Mayfield next 3 years, and our beloved boy, Devon Toews, will get a contract extension when he's an RFA next year, plain and simple, okay? Chase Priskie wants to be playing soon. He stuck it out that last year of college. Not only, obviously, he had unfinished business with Quinnipiac, but he wanted to show himself off as one of the premier players in college hockey. He wants to be playing soon. Sure. The contracts the Islanders have given their defensemen show that they're not a prime landing spot for someone that wants to be an NHL regular within a couple of years. They have too much money and too many years set off for other guys.
After all that, it's time to start Final Roars. Kevin, let's begin with you.
If you've heard it once from Rand Pecknold, you've heard it 1,000 times. Culture, identity. Well, despite the men's hockey team's winning culture of the past decade, not a lot of players had a nationally known identity. That looks ready to change. Andrew Shortridge, Brogan Rafferty, Brendan Fortunato, and Craig Martin have all been signed by NHL or AHL teams, and Chase Priskie will be a highly sought-after free agent. Even guys like Sam Annis, Travis St. Denis, and Michael Gartaig have moved up from the ranks of other organizations. And, of course, the aforementioned Devon Toews will be the first Bobcat to ever play in an NHL playoff game for my New York Islanders tomorrow night, and Connor Clifton might follow him on Thursday with the Bruins. My point is this. Quinnipiac hockey has finally hit the mainstream. This is a program that produces NHL-level talent with a multitude of players that are ready to thrive on the biggest stage. And trust me, there are many more to come.
There are two very important figures in the Quinnipiac community that will be saying farewell to the university in the next few months, and those two guys being Aaron and Andrew Robinson. The twins from Tacoma Park, Maryland have symbolized what it means to be a student at Quinnipiac University. Not only have they been outstanding athletes and leaders on the men's basketball team for the last 4 years, but they have made an impact beyond just the court. Both journalism majors, they have 6 combined all-MAC academic team honors, and have made great contributions to our station, Q30. And what impresses everyone most about these two is the smile and positive attitude that they bring to every conversation and situation. So on behalf of all of Q30 and the entire Quinnipiac community, Aaron and Andrew, you guys were a pleasure to share the microphone with, to share our classrooms together, and of course, our Bobcat pride and passion. Thank you both, and we wish you the best of luck in wherever your journey takes you next.
Q30 sports has meant a lot for me my freshman year. I came in a shy kid from Maryland who likes sports, but I've learned the ropes, but still have a lot to learn. Now I have 3 years left, but some people will see their time in the media suite end, and I wanted to shout them all out. Yeah, MJ, Kyle, Josh, Shane, Robin, and Aaron, I'm talking about you. Oh, and Randy too. You guys have seen this organization grow from the ground up since you guys were where I was 4 years ago. You guys made this media suite and Q30 where it is today. Through all of your sleepless nights and car travels all across the country, you guys showed me and everyone younger than you here how it is done. Through filming games, going on air, it's behind the scenes as well. You guys paved the way for me to see success in how it's done. And now you get to go out in the big world and do it professionally. So even through your time here, and your legacy will never leave. So thank you from me and the rest of the station for what it means to be a part of Q30, and good luck with all your future endeavors. You guys will always mean something to me once I'm where you are. So again, thank you. And now it seems this show has to come to its end. Be sure to check out all our content on Q30TV.com and the QBSN.com, and follow us on Twitter at Q30 Sports and at QBSN. To everyone behind the scenes and producers, Bryan and Kevin, me, and of course the seniors, thank you, and thank you for everyone watching. Have a great night and a great Wednesday. See you next time.